It's not about speed. It's not about the engine. It's about design. Because in the 1960s, Americans didn't just build cars, they created some of the most beautiful machines ever made. Long lines, chrome shining under the sun, perfect proportions, and that unique feeling of driving with the sky completely open above your head. But here's the interesting part. Not all of them were the same. Some were elegant, others were aggressive, and a few simply perfect. And today we're going to look at exactly those. The most beautiful American convertibles of the 1960s, a time when design wasn't limited by efficiency or modern regulations, but by one single thing: visual impact. Let's begin. 1963, Cadillac El Dorado, Biarritz. There are beautiful cars, and then there are the ones that define an entire era. And the Biarritz is exactly at that level. From the very first second, this car doesn't try to be subtle. Everything about it is designed to impress. The body is long, low, perfectly proportioned. The lines are clean, elegant, but with a presence that very few cars have ever managed to replicate. And here's something important. 1963 marks a very special moment for Cadillac. The brand was coming from a decade, the 1950s, where excess dominated. Huge fins, exaggerated designs. But in the 60s, everything changes. Design becomes more refined, more balanced, more modern. And the Eldorado Biarritz is one of the best examples of that transition. It's still imposing, but now it's also sophisticated. And you can see that in every detail. The chrome isn't just decoration, it's part of the car's visual language. It reflects light in an almost hypnotic way, especially when the sun starts to set, and the whole car seems to come alive. The rear end, simply iconic. Those subtle fins, combined with its wide stance, give it a road presence that's impossible to ignore. And then there's the interior, because this car didn't just want to look good on the outside, it wanted to feel special on the inside. High-quality materials, wide, comfortable seats, and a sense of luxury that, for its time, was several steps ahead of most competitors. But what truly makes this car special is how it feels to drive it. Imagine this: a clear day, the top down, the deep, smooth sound of the 390 cubic inch V8, and a completely fluid driving experience, almost as if the car is floating over the asphalt. It wasn't built to go fast. It was built to be seen, to be enjoyed, to be remembered. And that explains something important. Even in its time, this car was expensive, well above the average, and today, a well-preserved Eldorado Biarritz can easily exceed $70,000 to $120,000, with exceptional examples going even higher, because this car isn't just a classic, it's a reference point. The moment where design, luxury, and presence came together at their highest level. 1961, Lincoln Continental. There are cars that grab attention because of what they show, and others because of what they choose not to show. And the Continental belongs exactly to that second group, because while many cars of the era relied on excess, this Lincoln did something completely different. It simplified everything: straight lines, clean surfaces, perfectly balanced proportions. No exaggeration, no unnecessary elements. And precisely because of that, it stood out more than anything else. This design wasn't accidental. By the late 1950s, Lincoln needed to reinvent itself. Its cars were large, visually heavy, and losing impact against Cadillac. So they made a bold decision: do less, but do it better. And that's how this Continental was born, a car that, instead of shouting, spoke with absolute confidence. And then there are the doors. The famous rear hinge doors, the suicide doors, which weren't just visually striking. They turned every entrance and exit into something almost ceremonial. Everything about this car communicates elegance, but in a different way. More restrained, more controlled, more sophisticated. And that's what makes it one of the most timeless designs in automotive history. The interior follows that exact same philosophy. Spacious, clean, functional, but with a level of build quality and materials that made it clear this wasn't an ordinary car. And even though it wasn't a sports car, it wasn't slow either. Under the hood, a 430 cubic inch V8 delivered a smooth, powerful driving experience perfectly aligned with the car's character. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This car wasn't just a design success. It became a cultural symbol. It was the presidential car of John F. Kennedy, which immortalized it even further in American history. And that adds a completely different layer to its presence. Because it's not just a beautiful car, it's a car with historical weight. Today, depending on condition, a Continental convertible can easily range between $60,000 and over $120,000, especially in well-restored examples. 1965 Ford Mustang. There are elegant cars, there are exclusive cars, and then there's the Mustang. Because when this car appeared in 1964, it didn't just change Ford, it completely changed the market. Suddenly, having an attractive, sporty, and accessible car was no longer an impossible luxury. And the convertible version took all of that one step further, because this wasn't just about driving. It was about how you looked doing it. The proportions were perfect. Long hood, short rear deck, clean, youthful lines. A design that conveyed movement even when standing still. And unlike the large luxury convertibles we saw before, this one was lighter, more agile, more approachable, more personal. And that's exactly what made it explode in popularity. Young people, enthusiasts, people who wanted something different. Everyone wanted a Mustang, and the convertible quickly became one of the most desired versions. But it wasn't just about looks. Depending on the configuration, you could have anything from a well-balanced 289 V8 to much more aggressive high-po versions capable of delivering a truly exciting driving experience. It wasn't the most refined, nor the most luxurious, but it had something many others didn't have: attitude. And that changed everything. Because this car wasn't trying to be perfect, it was trying to be exciting. And it succeeded. Today, a well-kept Mustang convertible can vary greatly in price, but well-restored examples usually range between $35,000 and $80,000, and in rarer or more desirable configurations, even higher. And now, I want to hear your opinion. If you had to choose between these three, the absolute luxury of the Cadillac El Dorado, the minimalist elegance of the Lincoln Continental, or the youthful attitude of the Mustang convertible, which one would you pick? Because what comes next completely changes the pace. 1963 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. There are elegant cars, there are iconic cars, and then there are those that look like they were sculpted by the wind. After years of softer, more rounded designs, Chevrolet decided to completely break away from what was expected, and the result was this: a much lower, wider, more aggressive car, with sharp lines that seemed designed to cut through the air even when standing still. From the front, with its hidden headlights and deep, focused look, to the rear, compact, tense, almost muscular, everything about this car communicates intent. But here's what makes it truly interesting. This wasn't just a design change, it was a statement. 1963 marks the beginning of the Corvette's second generation, the famous C2. And with it, Chevrolet finally positioned the Corvette as more than just a beautiful sports car. Now it was serious. Now it was respected. And in convertible form, that experience becomes even more intense, because there's nothing between you and the sound of the engine. And depending on the configuration, that sound could be absolutely brutal. From the 327 cubic inch V8 to much more powerful versions that were already pushing dangerously close to muscle car territory, this Corvette didn't just look fast, it was. But what truly makes it special within this list is the contrast. Because while the previous cars focused on luxury or elegance, this one focuses on something completely different: feeling. It's raw, more direct, more driver-focused. And you can feel that in every corner, every acceleration, every moment behind the wheel. Today, a 1963 Stingray convertible can easily exceed $70,000 to $120,000. And in rarer or better preserved examples, even more. Because this car isn't just beautiful, it's exciting. It's the point where American design began to merge with true performance intent. 1966 Chevrolet Impala SS. There are aggressive cars, there are elegant cars, and then there are the ones that simply feel right in any situation. If there's one car that represents the perfect balance of the 1960s, it's this. It doesn't try to be the most extreme. It doesn't try to be the most exclusive, and yet, it stands out a lot. The lines are clean, fluid, with a silhouette that conveys movement even when the car is completely still. The side profile is long, elegant, and the smooth drop toward the rear gives it a sense of continuity that very few cars achieve. There are no unnecessary excesses. Everything is exactly where it should be. And that's precisely what makes it so attractive. Because this car doesn't rely on a single element to grab attention. It works as a whole. And that's exactly what Chevrolet aimed for with the Impala. To create a car that could do everything. Comfort, style, presence, and in the case of the SS, performance as well. Because while many saw it as an elegant cruiser, the Impala SS had much more hidden beneath the surface. With V8 options that included large, powerful engines, this car could deliver surprisingly strong performance for its size. It wasn't a pure sports car, but it wasn't slow either. It was that perfect middle ground, and that's what made it extremely popular, because it fit every type of driver. You could use it for a relaxed cruise, or simply enjoy the sound of the V8 as the car moved effortlessly forward, and in convertible form. That experience becomes even more complete. Top down, long lines stretching out in front of you, and a sense of freedom that perfectly matches the car's character. Today, a well-preserved 1966 Impala SS convertible can range between $40,000 and $80,000, although highly optioned or top-tier restorations can exceed that. Because this car represents something very difficult to achieve, being balanced without being boring, being elegant without being distant, and being memorable without needing to exaggerate. And that, in a decade full of flashy cars, makes it stand out even more. 1966, Oldsmobile 442. There are big cars, comfortable cars, elegant cars, and then there are the ones that hide something completely different beneath that appearance. At first glance, it might look like just another American convertible of the era. Clean lines, yet balanced proportions, an attractive design, but without exaggeration. But underneath all of that, there was something much more serious. The name 442 wasn't just marketing. It meant 4 carburetors, 4-speed manual, and dual exhaust. And that already gives you a very clear idea of what this car was about. Under the hood, a 400 cubic inch V8 delivered strong power. But more importantly, immediate, brutal torque that completely transformed the driving experience. Because this car wasn't just beautiful, it was fast, very fast for its time. Strong acceleration, direct response, and a much more aggressive feel than any luxury convertible we've seen so far. But here's what makes it interesting. Oldsmobile achieved something very difficult. It kept the comfort, without sacrificing the performance character. You could drive it calmly, enjoy the ride, or press the throttle, and feel the car completely change its attitude. And that makes it one of the most versatile convertibles on this list, because it combines two worlds that don't usually mix this well: style and performance. Today, a well-preserved 442 convertible can range between $50,000 and $100,000, and in rarer or fully restored versions, even more, because this car represents something very special. The exact moment when muscle cars started to lose the roof. And now, I want to hear your opinion. If you had to choose between these three, the Corvette Stingray or this Oldsmobile 442, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. 1967. Pontiac GTO. There are cars that follow trends. And then there are the ones that create them. And the GTO is exactly that. Because when it appeared in the mid-1960s, it wasn't just successful. It defined an entire category. For many, the GTO marks the true birth of the muscle car, and in its convertible form, that formula becomes even more special. Because here, you don't just get power, you get presence, attitude, and a design that communicates aggression even before the engine starts. The lines are tighter, more muscular, with a stance that makes it clear this car isn't here just to look good. It's here to dominate, and that's reinforced in every detail. The signature split grille from Pontiac, the subtle performance touches, the way the entire car seems to lean forward, ready to launch. Everything is designed to communicate one thing: performance. And under the hood, it delivered. The 400 cubic inch V8, especially in Ram Air versions, produced more than enough power to challenge many cars that, on paper, should have been faster. Strong acceleration, deep sound, and that constant feeling that there's always more available if you ask for it. But what truly makes the GTO special within this list is the balance, because it doesn't lose the essence of a muscle car, but adds something that completely transforms the experience: freedom, top down, V8 roaring, and a direct connection with the environment that very few cars can offer. And that's what makes it unique. It's not just fast, it's not just beautiful, it's exciting. Today, a well-preserved 1967 GTO convertible can easily exceed $70,000 to $120,000. And in rarer or better equipped versions, even more. Because this car isn't just a classic, it's a key piece in American automotive history. And once you understand that, you start to see it in a completely different way. 1968 Shelby GT500. There are fast Mustangs. There are iconic Mustangs. And then there's this. The Shelby GT500 is not just another version of the Mustang. It's the point where everything becomes more extreme, more powerful, more aggressive, more exclusive. Because when the name Shelby appears, the rules change. From the very first glance, this car makes it clear that it's not a conventional Mustang. The front end is longer, more dominant, the details are sharper, and the entire body communicates a sense of contained force. It doesn't try to be subtle, it tries to impose itself, and it succeeds. But here's something important. This car wasn't designed just to look good. It was built to take the Mustang to another level. Under the hood, the 428 Cobra Jet V8, one of the most legendary engines of its time, delivered brutal power with acceleration that, for the late 1960s, was simply impressive. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just over 6 seconds. A figure that placed it well above most convertibles of its era. What truly makes this car special is the combination. Because when we talk about convertibles, we usually think of style, cruising, elegance. But not here. Here you get all of that, plus a serious dose of performance. Top down, the sound of the V8 filling the air, and a constant feeling of power ready to be unleashed. It's a completely different experience, more intense, more visceral, more memorable. And on top of that, it's rare, very rare. Convertible versions of the GT500 were produced in limited numbers, which today makes them highly desirable collector pieces, and that's reflected in their value. Well-preserved examples can easily exceed $150,000 to $250,000, and in exceptional condition, even more. Because this car isn't just a classic, it's a symbol. The exact moment where the Mustang's attractive design met a much greater ambition. 1962. Chrysler 300H. There are cars that grab your attention immediately, and others that need a second to be understood. And the 300 belongs exactly to that second group, because here, there's no exaggeration, no obvious aggression, no intention to impress instantly. But the longer you look at it, the more it makes sense. This car is part of one of the most interesting series in American automotive history, Chrysler's famous Letter series. Vehicles that combine something rare for the time, luxury, and real performance. And the 300H is one of the most refined examples of that philosophy. The design is clean, elegant, with very well-resolved proportions. It doesn't try to visually compete with Cadillac, nor to be as aggressive as a muscle car. It takes a different path, more sophisticated, more reserved, more mature. And that's what makes it special within this list, because it completely breaks the pattern. But beneath that restrained appearance, there was much more than it seemed. The 413 cubic inch V8, combined with high-performance carburation, delivered serious power figures for a car of this type. And beyond that, it's extremely rare. Production of the 300H convertible was very limited, just a few hundred units, which today makes it one of the most exclusive pieces on this list. and that exclusivity is directly reflected in its value. Well-preserved examples can exceed $120,000, and, in exceptional condition, even more. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro SS. There are elegant cars, there are balanced cars, and then there are those that close a decade with authority. Because if there's a year that represents the peak of American design in the 1960s, it's this. And the Camaro was one of its best expressions. From the very first glance, this car feels different. The lines are more aggressive, more defined, with a lower and wider stance that makes it look ready to move even when standing still. The front is strong, the grille deep, the details sharper. Everything about this car feels tuned for one single purpose: impact, and it achieves it. But here's what makes it interesting. This isn't just a beautiful car, it's the result of evolution. Chevrolet took everything it had learned over the years and pushed it to a completely different level in 1969. The Camaro became more mature, more aggressive, more complete. And in convertible form, that combination becomes even more powerful. Because you have all that design, all that presence, with nothing separating you from the environment, under the hood, it doesn't disappoint. With options like the 396 Big Block V8, this car delivered strong, direct acceleration, with that deep sound that defines classic muscle cars. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just over 6 seconds. A figure that, for a late 60s convertible, was more than respectable. But what truly makes it special as the closing car of this list is balance. Because here, you have everything: design, performance, recognition, and an immediate emotional connection. It's one of those cars that even non-enthusiasts recognize instantly, and that's very difficult to achieve. Today, a well-preserved 1969 Camaro SS convertible can range between $60,000 and $120,000, although rarer or exceptional condition examples can easily exceed that. And in the end, everything comes down to one simple thing. It's not the engine, it's not the speed, it's not even the price. It's the feeling. Because 1960s convertibles weren't designed just to transport people. They were created to make you feel something every time you sat behind the wheel. And now, I want to hear your opinion. Out of all the cars we saw today, which one would you choose? The Corvette Stingray, the Shelby, or the Chrysler 300H? Which one would be your choice if you had to drive one today? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey through the 1960s, you have to see the other side of the story. Because before all this evolution, there was a decade where design was even more exaggerated, more chromed, and completely different. Click now and discover the most beautiful American convertibles of the 1950s. Because that story is also worth seeing. See you there.